there are really two basic states of being. You're either in love or you're in fear. And fear, then creates a host of other things like anxiety, depression. It could create anger and apathy and all of these negative emotions, where love puts us in the present moment. It allows us to even be in heart and brain coherence so that we're in a brainwave state that is more creative. And the only place that we can create from is when we're in the present moment and when we're in the state of love, right?
Welcome back to A Loud Voice for Love. And today we're going to get loud with love with Chemaine Linnie. And I actually met Chemaine on her podcast, who I got invited to be on her amazing podcast, which is you can check out on my website, and it's all on my socials. And we've had two of them, so you'll get to hear lots of chatter between the two of us. So now I have the great pleasure of being on the other side of the mic, so to speak, and having Chemaine as my guest, because what she does in the world today is an absolute loud voice for love, and with her health coaching and all of her practices. So rather than me spend time, I want Chemaine to just jump in here and tell my audience all about you and the amazing things that you offer and how it's all attached to love.
Well, Carol, thank you for having me. Lovely to speak to you again. Always a pleasure because we vibe so well. Self-love in my aspect of my business began with my journey, as you know. Back in 2006, I started my own journey. Um, where I was at my heaviest weight. I'm from Dublin, Ireland originally, and I currently live in Canada. I've been here 11 years now. No regrets, but growing up in Dublin is very different from what I see here in Canada to how people here grow up. So the experience is different. And as we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of talk back then on self-care and self-love and just finding yourself as you're growing. We were never taught that. And because of that, um, by the time I was growing, late teens, I hit my heaviest weight ever. I was 280 pounds and I was miserable. I was so miserable. I was crying every day. I was locking myself in my bedroom. I was binge eating. I was sneaking out at night to go get what we call in Ireland takeaway. You call it takeout. And I would eat in my car and I had no education around self-love at all. I had no idea that I was stuck in this vicious cycle. So then my sister, who is my rock and I miss her a lot, she decided to intervene one day. And it just so happened it was after her birthday party. I was at my heaviest weight and I thought I looked beautiful. I managed to find a dress that fit me. It was actually in one of these extra large stores that really are for older women. I was only in my late teens at this stage. So we had the party. By the end of the night, though, of course, with alcohol and food, I had swollen so much that I couldn't get out of the dress. So luckily, I had my best friend there, my sister there, and we went inside and they ended up taking a scissors to the dress to cut me out of the dress. So that was embarrassing in itself. But I still had no self-awareness of how bad things were. So a few days later, my sister intervened in her own little way and she said, "Oh, myself and her friend were going to Weight Watchers. Would I like to come? It might be good for me." And I was so naive in this whole area. I said, "Okay, I know there's a problem. I'm not fully aware of what the problem is, but I went, and that's where I found out my weight. Because again, we were never educated on this stuff, so I didn't know my weight. I didn't know why I felt so bad in myself. And in the midst of all this, Carol, I was being bullied left, right, and center, but not from strangers, not from my family. My family were bullying me and saying nasty things, and though I was very damaged, and I still feel it inside. Those scars run deep. There was a lot of pain. Like I hated myself. I was upset all the time. I hated what I saw in the mirror. I would sit on my bed and I would pull out my rolls. And again, I was very young. I was like 18 when this happened. And I'd also just had my first child very young. Again, God intervenes in magical ways. And I did grow up on the streets of London. And at that stage in my life, I was 280 pounds. I had a new baby. Of course, people were telling me I was a loser. I was going to amount to nothing. I had ruined my life. Of course, I was the fat girl, according to someone close in the family, and just all these whispers behind my back. I mean, it was a horrible situation, enough to beat anyone down.
Can't even. I can imagine, but I can't imagine, right? Like I can picture that so well in the way you describe it, and in the way I think I've witnessed bullying and whispers and that sort of thing, because people are fundamentally mean. Like, and they, and I've seen it with, some of my friends, and including actually my husband, and who he doesn't really even know it, right? It's sort of like, because we are a society that has been conditioned to judge, right? And never to be curious. And so if people were curious, they may have actually like done what your sister did, right? Which is through her own way, kind of backdoor you into saving yourself, right? Like so,
Yeah, it was. And I suppose back in the 90s, because that's when this was, we didn't have as much talk around bullying as we do now, or even why is this person behaving this way? What kind of internal hurt or damage is there? But went that night that we went to Weight Watchers, and it was the first time I knew my weight. Like it was a shock moment. And I remember like vaguely now sitting in the crowd with my head down, upset, just like trying to fathom what the hell is going on here. But that night, I remember this specifically because this was my moment. This was my moment of I'm never going back. I remember crying in bed and I made a promise. I'll never be this weight again. And I didn't make a promise to God or my new baby or anyone. I made a promise to myself. I'm never going back. I'm so unhappy and miserable. And I didn't. And within a year and a half, I just kept I don't want to say practicing self-love because that took me a lot of time to learn, but I'm doing this for myself. And as I felt better and better, then I started to love myself and my confidence grew. And I lost 150 pounds in a year and a half. And people saw I put in the work, I was disciplined. Because that those scars, they were still very raw back then. Those scars are what keep me loving myself now because I could still feel them of all that damage.
yeah. Well, and the process of self-love is self-mastery, right? And it's so, beginning to understand what were those things that were sort of driving you, right, to that, to really self-loathing on so many levels, to eat, to run out and eat more food and, in your car at night and eat. And those thoughts and feelings were there, so you have to be aware of them. And that's why they're still essences of them, because they remind you of what you no longer want, right? And then to keep at it, because this journey of self-love, this journey of self-mastery is a lifelong journey. It's not like, okay, I lost 150 pounds, I can just like go back to my old self. It's like, no, you can never be your old self. That's the journey, is to become the best version, and in your new self. And then the old self, the old habits can't exist anymore. And so you are like the poster child of this type of work. And I'm so in love with you and how not only have you done this for yourself, and now you bring it into the world for others. And we need more of you in this world.
Yeah. Well, I really believe, as we spoke about before, God has a plan for me, and this was his plan. Part of his plan was to give me a child at such a young age because I didn't have love in my life, and I was able to give that love and receive unconditional love back. And in Ireland, I saw a lot of teenage pregnancies in my friends, and you had two options. You were either going to go one way or the other way. And I went the other way. And I said, well, now I'm on a roll. I have this unconditional love from this baby. I love him. I'm learning to love myself. I started to build everything around love because I really believed that what got me in that position in the first place wasn't a lack of love per se, as my grandparents adored me, my dad adored me. I did not have love in a motherly form, though. And that's where that education as well was lacking on how to take care of ourselves as well. And which is where on our last podcast, we spoke about the importance of that female divinity and that female community. I didn't have that. And I think that kind of was where I got to. So I started to build everything around love. And that baby at the time, everyone thought was a curse, was a blessing because God, that was his way of motivating me to keep moving forward.
Which is really so beautiful that you were able to actually see it that way, right? Because it's really, life is about perspective, right? And like, what is our perspective? And so you could have had a different lens on. And right, you said there was two choices, but there was probably many choices, right? More, like nuanced choices between the A and the B. But you really took the perspective almost immediately, that this was the gift, right? This was the opportunity. This was for you, not against you. And that is true self-love. And you didn't know it back then, but you know it now.
Sorry, we froze there. Did
Oh,
I freeze for you or did
I
you
guess
freeze?
you were frozen. I thought you were listening
I
intently.
did listen intently till we froze.
That's well, what was I saying? Like, basically what I said was that, it was a change in perspective, right? And that you took instead of, yes, it was A and B, but I said I thought that there's really many nuanced perspectives, in our lives, right? There's infinite possibilities, but you chose the one inadvertently that was loving to you and loving to this beautiful bundle of joy that you brought into the world, and you saw that as an opportunity, right? Not as something that was negative. And look at where you've come. I mean, it's just like you're teaching this work. You've moved from one country to another. You have, an amazing podcast with phenomenal guests. I'm not just patting myself on the back. You have a list of the who's who in the health industry, and you have something to say. And what I mean, what it just is just for anybody that's listening, it's choosing yourself is always choosing love, right? When you're choosing in the ways of love, right? Because I mean, I think a lot of people can choose themselves in a very negative way and be bullies and think that it's like, oh, it's, I'm going to make the most money possible and do all this stuff. Not that I need to, but there's a lot of that around, right? And I don't necessarily see that as self-love. I see that as anybody who needs to make money at a level that they don't even need is replacing love. I think they don't I think they have loveless lives. And so I'm doing this podcast, A Loud Voice for Love, just as a reminder that, nothing will ever fill the void but ourselves, right? I mean, no amount of money, no amount of stuff, no amount of, you know, boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, right? It's like it all has to start with ourselves. And that inner love is what we need to be putting more and more out into the world so that we can then live and create the loving world that we all want to live in, where there are, forget that borders and all this other stuff, where there are no borders, because the only thing that matters is that, we all love each other and that we're all human beings on an amazing journey together. So sorry I
You
got that.
know, it's interesting you say that around the money and the success, because for a time, I wanted to prove to everyone, I'm not a loser. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to show you how successful I can be. I wanted to prove everyone in my family wrong. Everyone who has spoke poorly about me and said I was a loser and I was a waste of space and I was just the fat girl. I was on a mission. I am going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of, because I had already shown myself between the weight loss and the discipline what I could do. So for a time, I focused just on being successful. Like, I'm going to be the best. And I grind and I hustled so hard. And I did, as I say, I did what I came here to do. I accomplished all that. I'm very blessed. Um, I'm clearly in God's favor, but I put in a lot of work. And then over the last 2 years, a year, I'm going to say, my little boy had an accident last April, and it knocked me on my ass, for lack of a better word, and I'm still recovering from it. Upon reflection now, I don't know how I was even able to breathe in the moment, because when your baby gets hurt, like, it was blood everywhere, shock, horror. Oh my, I couldn't, all I knew was survival mode, get to the hospital. That knocked me on my ass more than I recognized. And I think part of it is because I had been hustling so long, putting the business first. I was at a stage where I was about to hit the wall, and the wall hit me that day. And since then, I've started to put boundaries in place and
Beautiful.
say, okay, I did what I came here to do. I'm successful in my own right now. I've proved everyone wrong. I don't need to prove that anymore. They know who I am now. And I've been focusing more on, but I haven't been happy doing this.
Mm.
I'm not happy, and happiness is the key to the self-love. Like, it's a huge factor. So since then, I've been more trying to find myself and putting boundaries in place, and no, I don't want to do that, or no, that's not acceptable in my life, and really just focusing more on now the happiness aspect. And it's not worth the money. I can tell you it's not worth the money. It's not worth the accolades, because at the end of the day, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm actually truly happy and I love myself the way I am, then what's it all been for? Has it all been worth it? All the grinding, the late nights, the hair falling out from stress? So I'm really, really focusing now. And even if you put a price, I've had people offer me money to work with me. I'm like, no, I get a vibe. Our personalities don't fit. Sorry, on to the next person. Like, you get to a point where you have no choice but to focus on happiness.
Yeah. Well, and I want to just speak to that because, as you know, in the work that I do, we really look at thoughts and emotions, thoughts and feelings, and on the scale of consciousness, the map of consciousness that Dr. David Hawkins created, he looks at, you can, when you get to that place of sort of anger or something that's motivating you, right? Like, so it could go one of two ways, right? You could go this way or that way. And this really is like, and so if you start, you used it initially as a motivation, right? Sort of but it catapulted you, forward in an emotional state as opposed to backwards, right? Where you were blaming and doing all this other negative stuff. So instead it was it motivated you. Then it motivated you so much the universe had to step in again, right? Like, and this is what happens, and you pay attention. That's what's so amazing, right? So many people just, they get the little whacks and the little messages, and they just keep powering through because they're either operating in survival or in such a high stress zone that they can't even see it. Like they can't put another pair of lenses on, right? And but what you have done is seen the signs, or you tune in to the love of the universe, the love of God, whatever you want to call it, that is delivered to us. And it's not always delivered as a tidy package of hearts, right? Like it's
Yeah.
often delivered as some sort of event that requires us to like either, see it as a turning point or go backwards. And now in this journey of yours, it's like you're in this wholly new place of maturity, I think, in choosing you again, right? That self-love. So it's now not about weight, it's about how do you preserve your the sanctity of your life and your loved child, and being there for your family and all of that other stuff, which our society basically tells us, you know right, like, and I think I told you this last week that I had coffee with a friend, and she said to me, I just don't know how to deal with work-life balance. And I go, this is going to be like my new thing. It's like, that is another made up thing, work-life balance, right? Like, how about like everything is our life, your work, it's like, and how do we balance our life, and if work is that passion that is like driving you, then that's balance for you, and why, this whole concept of separating ourselves into like, here's my work person and here's my life person. I mean, isn't that
I know.
ridiculous? So now you're fusing them.
Yeah. So two things on that. It just goes to show self-care is not static. It's not linear. What I needed in the aspect of loving myself for the last 10, 20 years, that was enough then, but now that form of self-love has to change. So it's not always going to be the same type of self-love. So it has to change for me. And with the work-life balance, we did speak about that on the podcast last week. And that was something that I was struggling with because now I have two boys and a husband and a house, and I had the mom guilt because I'm always working. And upon reflection, I was working, but I wasn't really enjoying it. There was some Saturday mornings, Carol, where I cried to my husband and I said, oh, I'm so blessed with my business, but I'm so overwhelmed. I can't keep doing this. Like, I just can't. But now I'm on the other side of that, and the blessings just keep coming in different ways now. I'm slower now than I was. Like my work has slowed down in a great way. And it's more fun now. I'm enjoying it more now, but now I'm also trying to adapt and like, hold on, I don't have anything to do for an hour. I've already done my work. What do I do with myself now? That in itself has been a big shift. Like, oh, well, maybe I should do the dishes. No,
Mhm.
maybe I'll read that book I really like. Like, it's been a whole transition. It's strange to, oh my gosh, for lack of a better word, to feel happy, but happiness in yourself. Like my kids and my husband are not involved at
Yeah.
all. They're boys. They almost have no idea what I'm going through right now. But I'm just in my own little world, I'm in the house by myself and I'm like, man, I actually feel good. I haven't won the lotto or anything, but like I'm happy. And it's such an adjustment. You think you're happy, But you're not really until it all kind of clicks into place and you slow down. So the title of our last conversation was to stop and smell the roses. I'm now
Yes.
slowing down to stop and smell the roses, and it's sublime, as we mentioned before.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all stems back to gratitude too, right? And we forget the simple practice of gratitude and how important that is to fueling our, the love and happiness in our lives, because the simplest things we did talk about this last week is like just the fact that we have windows, right? Like, like that they let light in and they keep the weather out and it just all sort of things. When is the last time that people look at something as mundane as a window and thank it?
Yeah.
And that is what shifts us back into this place of joy, right? Just like, wow, like we take for granted so much. And, and then just saying that, my heart just sort of like opened right then, right? Just, and it is said that gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. So, because then we become like, wow, life is generous. Like we live in a very abundant universe. And, and unfortunately, like even the whole chasing of money is based on lack, right? Like this notion of lack.
Fear, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not to pick on the billionaires or anything, but I mean, like,
I mean, I'd love some more of it, but you can
however, if
see,
I had billions, I would actually really like take that money and do what love would do, right? Like, and what would love do? Oh my goodness, I think love would take care of starving children. Love would take care of people who are stuck, right? Who just, for whatever reason, haven't had the education that would help them propel themselves into a better life, or um, or provide, like teach people the skills, right? How to garden, how to grow your own food, how about literacy as well? I mean, really, truly understanding words and understanding, um, and how about critical logic, right? Like being able to analyze, like, does that sound true?
yeah, I am.
And so, yes, I would like both of us to have more money because I believe that when we do, we would do amazing things in our societies, in our communities. And, not that we aren't already, but I would take it to a whole nother level, right?
Oh
Just
yeah.
so, and that's really what I think about a lot is doing as we do our love work, right? Like that I want to be an attractor for more so that not for I don't need anything. Trust me. Like I need to get rid of stuff. I mean, I'm at this point. I mean, I have so much abundance that I need to start just giving it away. And but I don't want to acquire anything anymore. What I want to acquire is peace and happiness and community peace and happiness, right? And anyway, so I think that this is why I wanted to do this podcast to really highlight somebody like yourself who's on an amazing journey, and it's a healing journey of sorts, right? That self-love is a healing journey, that self-love journey, and it's a cha-cha-cha, right? Like it's like, we think we got it, and then all of a sudden, we're tested. Like, are you sure you have it? Let's move, try it again. And we just sort of we move forward, we move back, we move forward, we move back. And this is what you're seeing in your own life. And so now you're redesigning it again.
It's kind of scary, but I know it needs to be done for my own sake. You
Ah,
know, it's interesting when you were speaking about the window and what's out there, like the sublime. I see the world in so much wonder and color. And that's what was resonating with me as you were saying that. But then I think of my clients and the people I speak to. It would seem to me that other people see the world in very black and white. And that goes back to the work-life balance as well. I'm either working or I'm at home with the kids. There's no time for me in there. And there's no time to stop and smell the roses. Like everything's crunch, especially in Canada, because the lifestyle here is a bit crazy. And I grew up in the city. I grew up in Dublin City, and here I'm like, man, you guys need to slow down a bit. But it's very black and white. And I think seeing the wonder and the color in the world is a huge missing piece for people. It's
And
not all about the money or success.
how do you help them get some rose-colored glasses?
I try. I try. My job, as much as I love it, it can be very upsetting and heartbreaking to hear these. And I work with men and women, but women especially, who have no time for themselves. And you can sense they're so unhappy. They're so sad. Why? Like, why are you so unhappy? What's driving these habits and these tendencies? And even talking about it, the tone of my voice changes because it's heartbreaking. Like, and I help a lot of women. It's such a blessing. They're so happy now. They've built their confidence, they've built routines, self-love, they're prioritizing themselves. But there's a lot of women I haven't helped, to be honest. I can't help them because they haven't helped themselves internally. And there's something else going on there that it's out of my scope. I can't help you with that. And that's so heartbreaking. So yeah.
Yeah, it is. I understand it 100% because, my clients are similar and we share a client who sent me a couple of clients um and really they have to get to that place where they're absolutely ready, right? And unfortunately, we can take it's like bringing a horse to water, right? But they may take a little sip, but then they like, whoa, like, and so all we can do is check in with them every once in a while, like, and just cheer them on with an occasional text or whatever. But everybody it's their own journey, and that's the one thing I've absolutely like had to tune into because, of course, I want everybody to be so happy and so productive and so in love with life that if I can't get somebody there, it's like, what did first I was like, did I, was I not the right guide for them? Or, and then I was like, no, no, no. It's like, we all have our own destiny. We all have our own journey. And, even people that I'm working with on healing journeys, it's, they will find the tools that work for them on their journey. Yeah, I can introduce them to them, but if you know, it's if they're not ready or it's not a tool that resonates with them, I just ask them to just keep going. Find your thing that's going to help you heal. Like what helped me heal might not be what helps you heal. But I do know that changing your thoughts can change everything. And, but maybe they're not ready for that message yet, right? They're so stuck on where they are in their perspectives. They're stubborn, right? Like, I, and mostly I hate to say it, but it seems to be men. Like they just get like, um, but I totally get it. And I think what for our self-love as coaches and healers, that we have to be okay with somebody choosing their journey. And, we may be just the beginning step or in the middle step or wherever, but they're still hopefully moving through and finding their journey. And sometimes their journey, in this lifetime is just it won't be a healing journey, right?
Yeah. People are so, to what you said, like we can give them all the tools and we can show them the way, but we can't make them do it, which has been something that's frustrated me for years. But now I've learned like it's not me,
What is it?
it's you, unfortunately. They're so stuck in the black and white. They don't see outside that. And I've been in nutrition forever, and I've been practicing as a bioidentical hormone practitioner for 2 years now, and I can honestly say that none of that matters. None of that matters. Like, I would say go to Carol before you come to me. Because if your words and your mindset and what you're telling yourself is not in a good place, or you're not even starting to be proactive with your thoughts, there's no point in coming to me and wasting your money because you're not ready. It all
Right.
has to start with your thoughts and the mindset, and the beginning the journey of self-love starts there. And then I can help you. But otherwise, you're wasting your money, you're wasting time.
Exactly. And which just you made just a thing, you just made me have a thought. Like we should probably offer a group program.
Well, yeah, I never thought of that actually. There you go. I'm already changing how I'm doing business. So let's let's integrate that.
Right?
Because because I've been like, I'm known for nutrition and
Right.
now I'm known for hormones. Thank you, God. And I've have a lot of clients who have stayed with me because I was clearly the one for them, and they're with me since 2016. So I've transitioned my business as they're getting older, and my learning's getting older as they're getting older. So I've had to change and go
Fabulous.
with them because I love them and I want to keep helping them. And like you said, if I won the lotto, I used to say I wouldn't charge people, I would just work with them because I want to help people. But now I would charge them because there has to be an investment for them to take it seriously. But what I would probably do is once you hit your goal or at the end of certain weeks, I'm going to give you all your money back and you can go buy new clothes or go on holidays or whatever. Like, I would manipulate it different. But I
Yes.
genuinely want to help people. Like, financially now, I don't really need to do this. I do it because I have a gift. I want to help. I can help. That's what I say to people. Like, I can help you, but only if you're ready to help yourself. And what I notice as I go through this kind of aging process, shall we say, in both my life and my business, like, we're all getting
Thank
older
God we're getting older every day. Otherwise we'd be dead. So
and wiser. And yeah, aging like a fine wine. But I'm getting an older group of people coming to me as well, more 40s, 50s, the hormonal changes. And again, so much unhappiness there. So there's been divorce, there's been children leaving the nest, going finding their ways, there's been family disruptions, there's been career change. Like, but honestly, who cares about all of that? Like, that happiness and sadness has to come in here. There's people that work in Starbucks that are super happy. They just love their lives. And I sometimes I think in my, maybe it's a naive kind of way, that I would love to work in like a really antique kind of cool little bookshop and I'd probably be perfectly happy there. But back to that self-loving and happiness, like, it all comes back to that.
yeah. 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 And so it's so true. It's funny because my husband asks me all the time, like is will you ever retire? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, because I am a lot older than you. And I've had a lot of careers, and as most people know, and this is my destiny. Like I know that I love teaching this work, and not only does it feeds me too, right? Because every single time I teach it, I learn something new, either about myself or about how to deliver the message in a way that meets that person's requirements, right? Because I think that's what it is. It's like meeting people where they are. Um, but I think it's such an important message that, maybe I'll evolve more into maybe a speaker, right? Where I can go out and share this information to a broader audience than just one-on-one clients, right? Because I feel like, yes, I'm making a difference one by one and group by group, but my groups are usually very intimate, from 6 to 10 people. And I'm thinking about how could I have a broader impact? Because it's such an important lesson. The self-love lesson is so important. Look at we are in a world that like, I mean, basically like, I mean, like let's just, you're in Canada, I'm in the United States. We love each other. Like, what the heck? Now we've got, like the United States wants to make Canada its 51st state. That is like, that's absolute absurd bullying, meanness, like 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 nobody that I know would ever want our brothers and sisters from the north to be our 51st state. Like we love the way it is. And rather, maybe I would rather it be no country at all, right? We're just one big continent where we share resources, and we shift the consciousness. We change the model from extraction to um sustainability, right? To regenerative practices. Like, I actually think that maybe antique shops and secondhand shops are going to be exploding, if you think about it, right? Because I think from my point of view, like, I don't want to be a consumer anymore. In the way that it was like, but I joked the other day, I'm kind of like that, like now everything that pops up on my feed is all this political stuff. And I said, where are the shoe ads? Not that I'm going to buy any shoes, but, but it was sort of nice when it was just like, how about looking at these cool shoes, right? Like,
Yeah.
now it's like, how about like, resisting? And anyway, um, but I think that this podcast is really to deliver that whole notion of choosing love over fear, over hate, over vitriol, and that there are so many beautiful people like yourself, Chemaine, that are doing God's work, doing the good work, where you are helping people find their way to happiness through exercise and nutrition and hormonal replacement, bioidentical hormones, whatever it is. It's so necessary because once people are like in their own bodies, right? Like when you're in your body, right? Like you own it. It's like it's not some sort of thing that's outside of you. Like then that's where when the self-love starts. And the more people doing the work that you are offering, doing the work that I'm offering, I really think we can actually begin to change and shift the consciousness to love and to this concept of oneness, that we are one. We are all one. We are made of the same we all are made of the same stuff. It's like we all have the same elements from the universe. We all have, I mean, I was reading this book by Greg Braden recently called Pure Human. It's his newest book. And I mean, our all of our DNA and our genetic code, it's like there's not very much difference between you, me, and somebody in Africa. I mean, literally, like there's so little difference if you actually just looked at that information, and which basically tells us that we are all the same. We just have different like kind of shells, right? But our fundamentals are the same, and we all have hearts, right? Like we all have souls. And I just want to see everybody tuning into their hearts more and operating from that place as opposed to um being hijacked by the information overload and all the hate and all the vitriol. I know I've been getting on too many soapboxes, but anyway.
But it's that shell that we all have, it's created by our thoughts. And the thoughts then are influenced by the algorithm and the external. And that's so underneath the shell, we're all the same. But what makes the shell different is our thoughts. And it comes back to like starting with your thoughts. That's where self-love begins, is not only how you think about yourself, but how you think about others and the world. So
Yes.
there's one thing I did want to add, if you don't mind, as well, is when I would assume you'd agree, but I could be wrong. If you are going to work with anyone in any field or area to take you wherever you want to go, I think it's important that whatever teacher you pick, that teacher should love themselves, and not in the vanity narcissistic way. They should have conquered their self-love aspect, because they're supposed to be your light in the darkness, and you want to be attracted to their energy and their light, not just attracted to someone because you heard, oh, they're a great personal trainer or they're a great coach or whatever, but you can see from a distance that person does not love themselves. So you have to, that is a, I think, a really important decision. Like, you are almost vetting who is going to teach you. Like, do your research. Does this person love themselves? Because I want them to guide me in the way, in Yoda's way. But and I see this a lot, especially locally, where I am, like our Facebook moms groups during COVID, they actually made the headlines in a lot of newspapers. Even over in the UK, there was a headline about one of our shop local Facebook groups and how we had rallied around just supporting local at the time because the small businesses were struggling. So our Facebook groups here, they're pretty active, and I'll see someone ask for help. And then in the comments, you see, oh, so and so's great. Oh, so and so's great. Or just because someone tells you so and so is great and you should work with them doesn't mean you should work with them. You should vet them. Are they a reflection of love? Can you see by looking at them? Maybe even Facebook stalk them. Do their posts say, I'm lighthearted, I love myself, I enjoy life? Because that's the energy that's going to influence you on your journey. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Oh, no, no. We're both like, I love that the way we communicate because you nailed it. Really is that it's so important that any of us who do this work are, walking as it, right?
Mm,
And in this, and in a lot of ways that is mastery, right? Doesn't mean that we are absolute masters yet, right? Because self-mastery is a lifelong journey. But
mhm.
at least we've done the hard work. We've done the shadow work. We've really looked so deeply into ourselves, and then we made the shifts. We changed our thoughts, we changed our feelings, we changed our trajectory. And that is inspirational to people. And it also gives people permission. It shows people the way, right? Because I think, I mean, I definitely hired a couple of coaches that were disasters because I somehow, you know, kind of violated my own principles and I went after the shiny object, right? It was, like they looked like I can give you this, right? And for me, it was for business stuff. Like I hired this coach who was going to do a lot of get me out there and big and making XYZ. And energetically from the get-go, I knew she was wrong for me, but I, I,
We're trying to trust
I
with
do.
someone.
Yeah. And so she wasn't the model for me, right? And so it caused a back step for me because then I was mad at myself for, you not listening to my intuition, perhaps bad judgment, and then the worst of all, shame, like, and so yet again, right? It's the universe's lesson. Um,
That's, if you don't mind me saying, I think that's where social media, it has its pros and its cons. If you are picking a teacher based on what you see on their Instagram or their Facebook, none of that's real. None of that's real. That's all fake. She does not look like that in real life, let me tell you. And her life is not that pink. It's not.
right. Right.
But then the pros is when you have podcasts and you have videos, now you can hear if someone's faking it in their voice. You can learn about your teacher in advance before even hiring them because you can listen to their podcast. You can listen to their videos and pick up on how genuine they are, but also how they speak. Do you align with them? Do you align with their teachings? So the negatives are if you're hiring someone and it's just all pictures, just all fancy pictures. None of that's real. Don't trust that. But at least if you have access to audio or videos, now you can get a more genuine, because it's quite hard to fake the genuinity, if that's a word.
And what a great point. And with AI now, who even, like, I mean, I write most of my content. I do use it sometimes to like help me edit because I'm the world worst typer. Like, I mean, I have so many typo. I mean, because I didn't, when I grew up, we were told not to take typing, right? Because then we would automatically get hired as a secretary if we had typing skills. So you were like, do not get a typing skill so that you don't, so meanwhile, I never learned how to type. So now I'm like, I try to like go, and I'm like, what does that sentence say? I can't even read it. It's like, so anyway, a lot of times I will just like almost I don't even type anymore. I'll dictate and then I'll just take the dictation and just say, can you just clean this up for me? Because um anyway, but with all of the AI out there, I think the best place to connect with somebody is by listening to this type of conversation.
Yeah.
And, because it's real. Like, at least I hope nobody's out there trying to be us.
They couldn't though. You
No,
can't fake it. Like the notion of fake it till you make it. It's a delusion. You have to be genuine. Not everyone's gonna like my personality or how I speak. I get that, but some people love it and they're ready for it. And that's
exactly.
also great.
And it's all energy. It all comes back to energy. So even writing, right? Like that's why I always tell everybody you got to write your own stuff because there's the energetics are there regardless. And
Mhm.
it's just like, don't take the shortcut because guess what else is going to happen? If you stop using your brain, like your brain synapses are going to start like pruning away, they're going to disappear, and you're going to become more programmable, right? Because you're just not using your brain. And so please write your own content. Use AI to help edit because like we're all asked to create so much stuff like that and we don't have troves of people working for us. So we're going to use some of the tools. But our energetics are in our writing and are absolutely are our energetics in these conversations. And what I can tell you right now is that like my heart is so open with Chemaine and this conversation and her beauty and her story and everything that she has done, in her life for her own self-improvement, her self-love journey, and that she gives that knowledge and information to her clients. And that's why her business is so successful, because of the love. Maybe not even, maybe all the social stuff doesn't matter as much. I mean, it's sort of like I'm almost getting back into my own local community more, just so that um, I need the people contact and B, we don't know like what's going to happen to all this internet stuff, right? I mean, we're in a crazy time. So we've got to like make sure that we're always shifting with what we're seeing, the tea leaves, right? So we may be going back to old-fashioned networking. Like,
I think so. I think word of mouth's very valuable.
best. It's absolutely the best. So we're coming upon about an hour. So to close, do you have any um, final thoughts on being a loud voice for love?
I do. Not what people want to hear, I think, but it is important. Sometimes people have to experience the pain and hit rock bottom before that light switch flicks, where there is that hope for self-love to start to grow and start to bloom. There's a lot of people that have to hit rock bottom before they can turn that corner. And people don't like to hear it. It is unfortunate, but in a lot of cases, that's where you got to start. So I don't take any pleasure in saying that, but for me, it was certainly true.
Well, and that's what you bring your experience. And let's just be clear. There is a whole planet of traumatized people, and what it doesn't matter what type of trauma it is, we're all healing from a trauma or two or three.
Mhm.
And so everybody's had the dark place. And you and I and many of us are out there showing the way. We're the way showers. And you're, and that's what the being a loud voice for love is, because that's what we need. We need more people on this on the love train, right? And so let's just keep the conversations going and keep doing what you do, and then hopefully in 6 months I'll have you back and we'll talk about how we've evolved even more in the last 6 months.
Yeah, how my journey of doing less and finding more evolves.
It would be so lovely. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, which is a very deep bottom, for joining me on my podcast, A Loud Voice for Love, and sharing your amazing journey and your beautiful talents, and how not only have you transformed your life, but you're transforming others. So thank you, Chemaine, and thank you to my listeners for listening to another episode of A Loud Voice for Love.
Thank you, Carol.
We belong. Raise a loud voice for love. Sky above, stars will guide. Together rise, we can move. Feel the power side by side.